Good morning, goedemorgen. We do have some registration from States, Spain, and also India. So despite the fact that we both in the Netherlands, we will do it in English. Good morning all. Welcome to this webinar. We still see some folks logging in, so bear with us for a couple of seconds before we can start. And thank you for joining us this morning. Good to see you guys. So you can hear me, Barry? Barry, sound is good? Good.
I can hear you. Yes.
All right.
Sounding clear.
Sounds good. You all are muted, so in case you need to, I'm going to repeat it again, but in case you have any questions, please use the question window. It's 10:01. As I said, we are celebrating today the Queen's birthday, not in the Netherlands, but in UK. We still see some folks dialing in or logging in, as I should say. So I give it in one more minute, Barry, and then we will start.
Yes,
thank you for joining. For those who just joined, welcome. Yes. All right. I said 10:02, so we will start now. Good morning, all. Welcome to the webinar with Liquidware. My name is Morteza Stakey. I'm your host today, and we got on the call Barry, which will lead you through the webinar today. Thank you again for joining this morning. If you need, you all muted as you see. If you need to have to ask a question, please use the question window. And again, thanks for joining us on this sunny morning and from our studios in Amsterdam. I'd like to hand over the microphone to Barry.
Great, thanks Morteza for the introduction, and welcome everyone. So today's webinar about simplify your modern workplace management with Liquidware. Why this webinar? Because a lot of people are working from everywhere or anywhere, and since this is the new normal, I know there are still people working from the office, like Morteza is in the office, and I expect some of you as well in the office. But during the last 2-3 years, this whole working from anywhere has speed up the process of adopting the modern workplaces with Microsoft Endpoint Management, managed endpoints, Azure Virtual Desktop, physical laptops, and workplaces like that. So I know from my conversations with a lot of customers and prospects that Endpoint Manager is great to manage your device, because it's a device management product from the start, and perfect for manage your compliancy, and it's great to use in combination with Autopilot for OS deployment. And yes, it can also easily deploy Windows Store apps or maybe some simple applications. But it's not, it's not the holy grail if you see or if you want to manage your user settings and profiles or more complex applications in larger environments. So that is why we are hosting this webinar, because what if you need to manage those workspace settings? You can think of the start menus, administrative templates, and printers, for example. But also when you want to migrate to modern workplaces, what about your existing settings? Can you migrate existing workspace settings from your on-premise VDI or your physical desktop in the office to one of the modern workplaces of your choice? And last but not least, is everyone in the IT department, do they have the knowledge to maintain all those scripts that they need to do such things inside Microsoft Endpoint Manager, because Endpoint Manager again is a great solution to manage your devices, but it's not designed to do workspace management. So there are no default modules to run workspace management, and you have to script a lot of settings with PowerShell or what have you. So again, people who are designing those solutions maybe also can script, but not everyone in IT departments can maintain or script those solutions. So let's talk about some use cases. What if you want to configure and manage your workspace settings without all the scripting? That's use case number one. And this is also the core of the webinar, of course, simplify with the digital workspace management solutions for Liquidware. It is what we call a so-called co-management with Endpoint Manager and Liquidware solutions. With us, you can easily manage shortcuts, drives, and printers, and all those stuff inside the user profile, like administrative templates, registry keys, file type associations, and even folder redirections from a simple view of our management console. And we are innovating the management console every day. Every year we see a couple of releases coming out with new features, new innovations in the product. And that's really helpful if you look at the ecosystem around us, where all the platforms for not only Microsoft but also Amazon and Google are innovating rapidly as well, and deploying new workspace strategies, which we need to support, of course. Besides all those modules, we add a really big layer of contextual delivery of all those settings we can manage from the workspace management console. You can think of the group memberships, of course, machine types, sites of your machines or people, the OSs, the protocols, services running and stuff like that to, like I said, really make it a context-aware delivery of your settings, and in the end, also your applications, of course. And besides that, and this is really important when it comes to modern management and modern workplaces, we add an extra layer of security. And it's not only about blacklisting or whitelisting applications, it's also about adding privilege elevation. You know, we really want to get the normal users out of the local administrators groups. And I know still a lot of people are local administrators on their laptops. And I'm not talking about the IT department, but about real end users that have still admin rights, and that's a big risk for the modern workplace solution. And on top of that, we can also hide folders and applications. So if you decide to deploy Office as an installed application on the laptop, but not all of your users using the laptop do have a license to use the installed version of Office, we can hide the version for people that are not entitled to use local Office installations, just as an example. And next one, of course, is the migration of user settings. Like I talked about in the previous slide, if you want to migrate your existing users and profiles to your new platform, you don't want to bore the users with reconfiguring their workspace, recreating their shortcuts or application settings, or even more advanced stuff like importing certificates and exporting it. So we can do that for you. So we harvest the current user profile, and we only take the settings that you want to migrate to your new workplace environment, and in the end present it on the new workspace. So whether it's a cloud desktop or a Intune managed or Microsoft Endpoint managed laptop. And this is all possible from the cloud. So we can deploy the solutions with Endpoint Manager. You can run our management console directly in Azure or in your on-premise data center. And you can even get it from the Azure Marketplace as a pre-built server. You still manage it your own, but it's a pre-built server, so you can be up and running within 1 hour. So that's really powerful. All the settings we need for end users, and in the end also the user settings, are stored directly into cloud storage. but I will get back to that in one of the demos. So talking about the demo, the first one about how you manage your workspace on a simplified way. Let me switch to my workspace management console. As you can see, this is the Portability Management console, which allows you to have multiple versions of configurations, multi-tenancy, so you can manage multiple customers from one management console, or have like a DTAP strategy inside your management console. All those modules you will see here are part of Portability, except the one that is called Flexp, which is used in the later demo today. And as you can see, there is a lot of default modules available about managing the application restrictions. Like I said, blacklisting, whitelisting application, privilege elevation, drive mappings, portability settings, etc. And it's all, you know, available in just a few clicks away. So if you want to add a new setting, you just open the module, you add a new rule, and you need to fill in a couple of fields and you are done. You can deploy the setting and it's ready to use by your end users. No scripting needed, no advanced skills needed, actually, just this management console. Now let's take a look at the end user machine. This is a Microsoft Endpoint Manager machine. And this one is logged on with an Azure AD account, so it's not in hybrid mode in this point. When users logs on, you will see a splash screen. The splash screen will run through the login session. So, you know, scripts or policies or shortcuts were created during the login. And when they are on the desktop, they can start using their workspace. And as you can see, this one is pretty basic because I have no real drive mappings at this moment. I can start, let's take a look at Notepad, for example. Notepad can start, WordPad can start, but it's still pretty basic. No advanced wallpaper settings or anything like that. Now again, if I want to go back to my management console, and let's sign this one off, I go to my management console and I just enable a couple of settings. So let's enable this drive mapping. Let's disable Notepad from running. So I don't want Notepad to be used by end users, only WordPad or Word. I can set some administrative templates maybe. So let's use a desktop. So I can set a desktop policy with my wallpaper. So I can configure administrative templates as I was used to with the group policy management console. Easy and simple. So enable that one. You can enable a couple of others. It's fine. Of course, there are some registry keys that were already enabled, so they were already deployed in the session. And well, let's deploy some of the shortcuts. So I already had the refresh one and the WordPad, but I want to add just a simple couple of shortcuts, MS Paint and snipping tool. Now, when I want to deploy these settings to my end user, I need to deploy it from the management console. So this management console is not in line of communication with the desktop. The desktop doesn't need this management console to be up and running to receive their settings. So it's really simple from an end user perspective and the endpoint perspective. They only need access to the cloud storage. So they need an internet connection and they can receive the settings in order to run the new configuration. So I can deploy it.
Very. Can I ask some questions, because we do get some questions while you're presenting. So I'm going to, is it okay? We will save some more questions at the end, but some questions are popping in. Is it okay to ask them now?
Yep, sure.
Yeah, okay. A question comes in, does Liquidware work with Azure AD group membership?
Yes, so since last release, which is now in preview, we support Azure AD groups and users, and also Azure AD to log on to the management console.
All right. And then it says, I see in Internet Explorer also support Edge. I believe this is a question that we get all the time, the Internet Explorer here, exactly. We should maybe kick it out. So the question is, does it support Edge?
Edge. So all browsers are supported by administrative templates. So since we start, I expect it to be removed soon, actually, because Internet Explorer is end of life this month. But yeah, all the other browsers, and there were a couple of settings in them, Microsoft Edge, you can, manage best with the group policy settings. That's the easiest way to do that, because there are a lot of settings, and as of today, we cannot put all those settings in one simple module. So administrative templates is the way to go.
Okay. Well, one last question, because it has to do with what you're discussing now, and the question comes in, is that UWP, I'm sure you know what it is, apps keeps pinned to the start menu / taskbar and desktop, question mark. IWC, I guess that's the brand of the watch, has problems with it.
So we don't touch the universal Windows apps, if that is behind this question. So we can clean up the start menu or add new shortcuts, but we don't remove or add Windows Store apps.
All right.
It's out of the scope. Yeah.
Good. All right. Thank you. Let the questions come in. Barry.
Yeah, keep them coming. So what I did is I blocked Notepad, for example. So I refreshed the session. Now it's blocked, so you can get a notification, of course. I added some of my new shortcuts, which are available. And of course, working. I added the drive mapping. And in the end, I also added my my wallpaper, which will pop up in the next login. So that will be refreshed when we log in. So this is a basic demonstration of how we manage the settings for modern workplace. Instead of scripting, simple things like drive mappings or shortcuts added to your Windows desktop. So let's take this one again and sign it off and switch back to my presentation. As I said, I'm going through some of the use cases we talk about a lot with our customers, so I will switch back and forth with the demonstration and the presentation. Because the next use case is, how about saving important settings and profiles for your users and share devices, right? So I talked about migrating settings from your previous workplace to your new modern workplace, but this is about having a disaster recovery solution for your profiles, or maybe you need to share devices in different shifts in your organization, and how you can accomplish that. Because people sometimes ask me about enterprise state roaming that's available with Microsoft also. Is that not enough for us? And maybe that's a simple question or answer for me, because enterprise state roaming focuses on a couple of Windows Explorer settings in your wallpaper, but that's about it. I know it supports only universal Windows apps, and universal Windows apps are not used a lot in the enterprise. So when you talk about Windows 32 applications, there's no support for that in enterprise state roaming. Other than that, if you think about app data, if you think about registry in specific, that's not supported as well. So if you need more complex things to store in your profiles, like credentials, like certificates, like the Windows 32 application settings, and all other Windows settings you want to save, we can help you with our templates that are in the product available when you set it up. Or you can create your own templates, right? So if you have a specific application that's writing in an old location, you can specify your own portability rule set to create a specific rule for that application. And with that, you can start roaming all the settings from your laptop or your Windows 365 machine or your Azure Virtual Desktop into Azure Blob storage locations, right? So you can move from one machine to the other, or you can switch users on the same machine and having their own application settings and Windows settings available just in a couple of seconds. And this is really important for the end user experience, because end users that are switching devices expect to have the settings available that they created yesterday on the other laptop or yesterday in the Azure Virtual Desktop. So in this case, they can, seamlessly move around the different devices with keeping their personal flavors and settings. So Azure Blob Storage is supported. We support Amazon S3 and Google Storage. But yeah, in the Netherlands, mainly we see Azure, but I can imagine maybe in some other countries we will see Amazon and Google as well. The archives that we use are normal zip archives. So if you look at the blob storage later, you will find a directory for that specific person or user with a set of archives available. You can remove it, you can troubleshoot it even if you need to. So it's really a enterprise grade solution to manage your profiles, very fine-grained in this way. Let's take a look on how that looks like if we go to the management console. So let's go back to this Portability Management console and switch to our portability settings. At the left side of the management console, we have Portability Management, and this is where we store all our templates out of the box. So when you install a new server for Portability Management, you will receive all those templates out of the box. And in the templates, we just store a bunch of registry keys and system rules. So you can exclude, you can merge, or you can replace complete sections of the registry in the file system. We don't limit you to the user profile only. You can set custom directories or anything. So you're free to do as many portability as you like, I can say. But like I said, you can even create your own. So if you go to create, you can select their own values and folders that you need to save for your specific application, your third-party application. Now, those templates are reused in our configuration. So when I go to my workplace demo and go back into portability settings, we will find a couple of rules that are already assigned, but they were not enabled yet. So I'm not saving any of my files at this moment to the cloud. This is the cloud storage pod. So I just need to specify a cloud storage pod that is existing in my blob storage location inside Azure, in my Azure subscription. And I can start using variables for my usernames to store it per user. So let's just enable a couple of these settings. These are basic settings, like Chrome, Edge, certificates, application data, stuff like that. So I enable it, I deploy it, and again, I need to specify my Azure path, and there we go. Now the file is deployed to my Azure Blob container. The screen that is popping up now is my Azure Storage Explorer. So if we go to my laptop container and search for the webinar folder, there is a demo INI deployed just now, right? So this is the one we deployed. This is the file with the actual settings that are used by my desktop. If I go back to the profile section, and we will find a couple of usernames already, but I don't see my demo user, Tony Stark. So this is the one that will be created as soon as we log on and log off again from the machine. If the demo gods are with me, of course. So this is, again, the same desktop that we used before. Now we added some of the portability rules on top of that, what we already had. You can now also see the background is displayed, so my settings are coming through the end user. I don't modify really something right now. I can maybe start some applications to create some of the app data or something like that. And I will again log off for this session. and we will monitor my Azure Blob Storage location.
Eric, can I ask you another question?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So the question comes back with regards to the universal Windows apps, and you want the workspace control. So the question is when we, for example, pin the calculator to the taskbar or start menu, it won't be remembered by you want the workspace control, and when you log off and you log in again, you know the app is not pinned anymore. Do you guys, as Liquidware, fix this?
So we can maintain the settings that the user is creating for itself.
Yeah.
But we also having seeing difficulties with managing them from the management console. So forcing tiles to be added to the start menu, or forcing it to you know, the quick access area. These are hard to manage because Microsoft is really, you know, tightening their security around this these topics. But we can save it. So if the user puts them there themselves, we can save it in the profile and restore it. Yeah.
Okay. Good. And then the another question is, can you also, for example, point such an app, the Universal Windows app, pin it to the start menu or taskbar for the users using Profile Unity? Would that be possible?
That's the one I already answered in the last answer. So we can't really manage it. On older versions we can, but the latest Windows 10 or 11 versions are really hard to manage in that case.
Okay. Right.
So
good man.
Yep. In the screen we now see the Tony Stark folder with a portability folder in there. This is just a folder structure. You can decide yourself how you want to design that. And you will find now my profile written back to the blob storage. So if you look closely, there is an app data folder, but there is also an Adobe folder, a Microsoft folder inside app data. So we are splitting the app data folder that we captured into different archives. So if you want to remove the Adobe folder, you can simply remove the Adobe archives from the blob storage, and the user will start over with that section of the profile. And we do that for Edge, for Google, for the MAPI profiles, certificates, and also the Windows settings, so Windows Explorer, Recent, and stuff like that. So in the end, you decide which pieces of the profile you want to keep for your users and how you want to restore them. Do you want to restore them every session? Or if it's a laptop, do you only want to restore them once? So if there's an existing profile on the laptop, we don't need to restore it again, right? So all things around speed up the logon process and make it the most efficient piece of the login process, instead of doing things twice when it's not needed. So this is really about, you know, sharing devices and disaster recovery for your profile. Sometimes it sounds odd, you know, disaster recovery for your user profile, but don't get me wrong, because you know, user profiles are one of the most important pieces of the end user experience when it comes to his workplace. You know, if there's no profile, if there's no application settings, they will get really frustrated and they will get angry at the service desk. So this is for some organizations a headache when it comes to saving those things in a simple way again. Now, one of the next use cases is, okay, I now managed my workspace and I can save my profile, but how can I add or remove or update applications easily, and more importantly, maybe when you need to. So everyone using SCCM or Microsoft Endpoint Manager knows it can be challenging when you want to deploy a application right now. And I mean now and in really now. So I deploy my application and I want, when my user logs on again, or maybe restart the laptop, he will receive the application immediately. And this is, not only important for your monthly patching for applications, but also for security vulnerabilities that are out there. You can think about software bug fixes, compliance updates. Some law firms or HR departments need compliance updates in their systems every now and then, and that needs to be on time. So we cannot wait for some software solution to kick in sometime on the day. And you also can have emergency fixes, right? If there's a really bad bug in your software, you will receive a new fix from your vendor. You will need to deploy it right now, not somewhere this afternoon. And if you think about AVD, the AVD host pools, if you think about using custom images, or maybe you will go with the marketplace images, this is even more challenging, because every time there is an update, you will need to refresh your host pool, right? If you just use the default Microsoft products, you need to refresh the host pool. You need maybe to maintain your custom image or start over with some product to rebuild your image. That's really time consuming. When you think about the marketplace images, great to use. They are simple, they are ready to go, but there's no software in it. So again, you need to install the software. And if you think about laptops with autopilot, for example, maybe you need to reset your autopilot. So you need to go back to your original Windows system to get rid of some bad software, or get rid of some Windows image rot, is how we like to call it. So all the Windows 32 apps, in this case, will need some solution to be deployed, to be removed, or to be updated in a simple way. Excuse me. So again, we can simplify that process with Flexp. And Flexp is part of the Portability Management console, as some of you already know, and some of you maybe saw during my demo. There's a Flexp module inside the Portability Management console, which allows you to attach applications and detach applications dynamically from a CIFS or Azure Blob storage location. So to bring that back to, for example, your on-premise VDI or server-based computing environment or physical desktops, or when you want to use, again, the modern workplace with an internet connection into the Azure and use Azure Blob storage to deploy the applications, right? So no need to refresh your host pools on AVD, no need to autopilot reset your machine, just add and remove applications. So how does it look like in my demo? Let's go back to my Portability Management console, where we have the Flexp module available. So I have an inventory, and in this case, I will showcase one of the default apps that are in there. But as you can see, there can be a lot of own applications as well. So let's go to my Flexp module, add a new Flexp DIA rule, add, for example, WinZip, some simple applications. Just join a filter like the Marvel members. Tony Stark is one of my Marvel members. So add these applications. Maybe also add, let's see, Opera and Remote. So 2 other applications available to all of my users. And again, only deploy my settings to cloud. And my machine should be ready to receive these applications. So I only deploy the INI. And yes, my applications are already on my blob storage location or Amazon S3 bucket. You can mix and match. Azure files or NetApp files can be used, of course. And so we are ready to go. So let's go back to my demo machine. Log in. And during the splash screen, we will see, of course, the other Profile Unity stuff like my profile management, the drive mappings, and pieces like that, but also my Flex apps. So my Flex apps are mounted during this logon phase of my end user, and it will start now getting the applications inside my machine. Because we are working with cloud and we are getting the apps from my blob storage location, it will cache my applications. So it will mount it from my blob storage location, but it will also cache it locally. So whenever the internet connection is, not good enough to maintain the connection, we can work with the locally cached versions of the apps. So let's take a look on my machine, how that looks like. And also go to my settings. Need to customize it a little bit. Show hidden applications. So this is my Flexp mount directory. Here I will see my cached applications. So 4 applications are coming in. I already see my shortcuts on the desktop, FileZilla, mRemote, Opera. So those are there. I can go to my apps and now see also the applications as installed applications in my Windows control panel. So when I look for Flexp, I can see all the 4 applications with a Flexp tattoo in it right there. So that means Windows thinks my applications are installed. So when I open 7-zip, it acts like a local application. When I open FileZilla, Opera, it acts as a local application. And it is because of Windows really sees the files in my backend, in my C drive, in the control panel, in the file type associations list. So it's available in all locations of Windows. So that means I can literally Flexp all types of applications for my end users, whether it's Office plugins, whether it's services or printer drivers, printers like PDF printers. It's all ready. All right. Now, if I want to remove the applications, I simply, or replace them with a newer version, or just unassign it from this user, save my rules, and again deploy it to my cloud location. All right, so just deploy it. People should log off and log on to the desktop, and applications were switched out of the machine. No things are left behind, so we will not find the program data folders or the program files folders or the registry for local machine for these applications back on the machine. Right, so no Windows rot in the end for your host pool, no Windows rot for your physical laptops. All right. Now, a lot of people are asking me, okay, this sounds great. I see cloud storage usage and I see, people working online, so that's fine. But what if I don't want to use Azure Blob Storage, but I want to use my own kind of S3 storage location? I know there are some solutions out there that are deploying appliances, virtual appliances, or physical appliances stacked with storage disks to host your own S3-like bucket, so your own cloud storage actually. That can be interesting for some of your customers, but also what if you really need to be offline? So I'm not using my application today, so the blocks that were cached in my last demo are not there yet, but maybe tomorrow when I'm offline, I want to use the application. What now? Can I still use it? Do I need to connect first to the corporate network or to the internet before I can use the application? Or is it already there? So this is one of the things, that are discussed sometimes, the costs of cloud storage, cloud ingress. Using cloud storage is not free. It's cents per gigabyte, but if you have a lot of users, it can be a lot of data in the end, right? Especially when you have non-persistent desktops, that this can go, can be really big in the end. Again, like I said, maybe you need the apps for offline usage, so you don't want to stream the applications every day to the machines to make sure the blocks are available offline. And again, maybe you don't want to attach apps over the internet or corporate network, and you just want to have them locally to rule out anything around your connection or bandwidth possibly affecting your user experience. That's what we do with Flexp 1. And Flexp 1 is one of the features actually for Flexp, because Flexp is one product and Flexp 1 is just a feature of Flexp. So we added a new feature which makes it possible for you to have one single executable that contains the application layer and the backend mechanism. So when you think about the backend mechanism, it's the agent that we use to run the Flexp. So this can be useful, of course, in combination with one of the previous use cases. So if you use Unity to manage your workspace, you can still use Flexp and Flexp 1 together, to choose your best use case out of the 3 or 4 that we have seen today. Or you can go with Flexp 1 standalone. So you can use, if you don't want to go with profile management, you can still use Flexp 1 as a standalone solution on top of Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So what we added lately is a Flexp 1 tray item, which is available to deploy with Microsoft Endpoint Manager together with a simple YAML file, which contains the configuration and of course things like authentication, group memberships, and also the location of the actual Flex apps that it needs to get down to the system, right? So when you run the Flexp 1 tray, it will look for you on the cloud storage location or your cloud storage location, which apps are available, and it will sync it down to the machine. It doesn't wait for you to start the application. It will start right away when you start the FA1 tray. And of course, the FA1 tray can be in your run key or in your auto start apps or what have you, or you can start it manually. So you decide in the end how you want to use this solution. Now, when you think about Flexp 1, it's really it can be deployed in 3 simple steps. Like I said, you need to have a YAML file, which is a simple text file in the end with some information for your organization. You need to deploy the sync app, right? And the sync app is the Flexp 1 tray item that installs itself on the endpoint and installs a service, our container service, to run the Flex apps on your endpoint. This is one single executable that you need to put into Microsoft Endpoint Manager so you can start using the application. And then you only need to sync the apps down from your available storage location, and they will go into your machine. So let's take a look on my second demo machine, how that looks like. So this is another Windows machine, same user, same configuration actually, but it doesn't contain Unity at this moment. So it's really a Microsoft Endpoint Management managed device only. Also, Azure joined, Azure AD joined, I have to say. And what we did is we only deployed the Flexp 1 tray. So this is the application with the service. Oh, I don't want to click that already. Apologies. So only the Flexp 1 tray with no applications installed other than the default Windows autopilot image. So let's go to settings and check my applications list for installed applications. Look for Flexp, and there's nothing there. A little look behind the scenes. So when we go into the Flexp 1 area, and let's remove this one. This was downloaded accidentally when I clicked the Flexp 1 tray. So this is my placeholder for my applications. Program data Flexp 1, you can specify the directories yourself. And the actual tray icon is just running from here. So it's the executable and it's the YAML file, right? So like I said, you can add it to the run key for your machine or for your user to make sure it will start and download your applications. So when I click the shortcut, it will pop up here. And you can see that it's checking the remote storage and it's downloading. And in my case, it's still Azure Blob. I don't have a own S3 solution or something. It's downloading all applications available in that location. So it looks for my applications and it's downloading 3 out of 8 applications. So it will get all the executables down to my machine. And it will automatically add it to my start menu and run keys. So as soon as the user starts reusing the applications, they're mounted for the user. I can already start, it's still syncing, but I can already start using an application. So when I click on 7-zip, for example, it will now mount the application for me in the backend, and I can start using it. It will be added to the installed programs list. It will be available when I go to, program files, for example, 7-zip, there it is, with the normal file structure as you expect with an installed application. Right, so that's right there. Now let's go back to my program data, Flexp 1. I think it's finished. There were about 8 applications in there. So there are no synced apps anymore, and I have 1 active layer. That means 7-zip is active. You can use the layer or the tray icon still, or you can just ignore it and close it. It will keep the other applications open. So I can start using other applications. So this is a fun one, the old pinball, which is Flexp. I can use a text editor, the VLC media player, and again, all the apps will be mounted in the backend and will be added as soon as they have a registry location for that to my installed programs list. All right. Again, if you don't use the application, so I only have my shortcut there, but I don't use the application, it won't mount it to the system. So it's really depending on the user using the application or not. So they decide whether they want to start using the app. So that's what the Flexp 1 tray icon does. When I add new applications, so when I add a new application in my background, in my Azure Blob Storage location, it will automatically download it for my end user. So as soon as there's a new application in my Blob Storage, it will check every 5 minutes by default, but it can be customized to 1 minute or seconds or every hour, and it will get down the new version of the application. So when it's updated as an executable, when it's removed, or when it's added as an executable in my Blob Storage, it will get it down for me. Okay, so really transparent for the end user, no hassle for your end user to get the applications because they are just added based on their entitlements to their start menu or to the desktop, and you can still manage it centrally, right? So we fire over the executable to the end user, but we still have a way to manage it through the endpoint. All right. So that's about Flexp 1, and I know we have some time left, but this is what I wanted to show today in terms of the modern workplace management and simplified with Liquidware solutions. So to recap it a little bit, we had the use case where we just simplified the workspace management. We had the use case where we want to add shared devices or disaster recovery solutions for your profile. And that also means, continuous migration if you want to manage your profiles on both endpoints. Users are using a laptop and an Azure Virtual Desktop, for example, and they can still sync the settings between those 2 devices. So it's really important from an end user perspective and their experience. If they change something in Adobe Reader on the Azure Virtual Desktop, that if they have Adobe Reader on the local laptop as well, the same settings apply, right? So it's a really simple example, but it does matter to the end user. Now, the third one, of course, about adding applications, and that one was mainly focusing on Azure Virtual Desktop. Actually, you can use it on laptops, but it's more focusing on, central cloud managed devices like Azure Virtual Desktop or Windows 365 Cloud PC, where you can have a big internet connection with assured connection availability, where you can mount applications and unmount applications. And in the last use case, where we can completely take it offline and manage it from one simple executable that we need to deploy and get all your apps down to the laptop without any limitations of people using the application for a month or not. They don't need to come back to the office to get new applications or resync their subscriptions like you need to do with your Netflix downloads, for example. So it's really straightforward. And with that, I think we have some time left for some questions. So Corteza, I'm not sure if there are new questions.
Absolutely, but I just wanted to make sure that you tell your story so we can go through the questions afterwards. So some questions came in, thank you, and there's still time, so let the question come in. One of the questions is how you guys are looking at the Zero Trust architecture and which users are using one laptop. This is in case of bring your own, and also sometimes in the case of Intune manage, not the local AD, and in regards to the app data, data setting between the applications as OneDrive. Is that clear? The Zero Trust.
Well, yeah, Zero Trust. We are not completely in that area, to be honest. Of course, we add features to that specific topic. So if you think about Zero Trust, and this is about compliancy for your laptop that you manage with Endpoint Manager, that is about storing files redirected to OneDrive, for example. If you look at Portability and Flexp, it's adding that security layer that I talked about earlier, about blocking applications, removing applications from the OS, making sure that your applications are up to date all the time without being or without needing to worry that some of your laptops may not have received the updates. So when you think about Zero Trust, I think it's more like removing the unneeded privileges for end users to be local admin, removing access to unwanted applications, or even hide applications from the OS so they cannot be used by your end user. Even if they can go to see Windows System 32, for example, they cannot access simple executables that can be harmful for their device. And last but not least, of course, the addition of the ability that you can simply manage applications and Windows with administrative templates again makes it really simple for you to apply policies, also related to security, of course, to your endpoints. So yeah, like Zero Trust is a concept which is Microsoft's own, actually. They are really heavily deploying it from Endpoint Manager perspective, and in things like data security. We are adding features on top of that, but way more easily managed, I think.
All right, good. Next one. Can the application start automatically for the users using Profile Unity?
Yes, so there is a module application launcher that can add applications at startup, for example. Or if you have the Flexp applications that can have a shortcut in the startup portion of the start menu, like some applications install themselves in. You can also do that manually in Flexp, and it will then, when the Flexp is mounted, also automatically start it. It will rerun the startup folder as soon as the application arrived.
Sounds good. We have more questions, so let's go through them quickly. The question was here, when will Flexp 1 be released? I think I answered the question in the chat. Flexp 1 is already released, is already there to use. So it's been already a while since we launched it. Another question
yes.
a gentleman has asked. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, so it is already available since last year, but we are adding features. So there will be new command lines available, but also like the FA1 tray item will become available. So that's and there's more to come.
Sounds good. What are the use cases for Cloud PC? A gentleman is asking.
Well, Cloud PC, and it also depends on the subscription you have with Cloud PC, is that it's or managed by Endpoint Manager. So again, then you will have the same use cases, or even you can have Cloud PC without Endpoint Manager. So it's really a kind of standalone desktop in cloud that you then can still manage with ProfiUnity and Flexp. So Endpoint Manager, like I said, is great, but it doesn't need to be in between the Windows OS and ProfiUnity and Flexp. We can still do all the things that you see, that you saw today without Endpoint Manager. So when you talk about Cloud PC, it's what we have seen today. All of it.
Listen, the zip files are in blob storage. Are those editable? If you change something in the zip file or add or edit the zip file, it's a little broke. I believe the zip files are not editable, right? But leave it to you.
Editable?
Yeah.
So yeah, you can edit. They're not encrypted by default. So by default, you can open it, edit it.
Yep.
So if you want to remove some settings from a zip file, that is possible. If you don't allow that, you can also encrypt them when they are written to the blob storage. So that's up to you.
Okay.
But we allow you to edit it. Yeah.
All right, good. Does this also work with Azure Virtual Desktop, or is it an on-premise VDI? I believe some of the questions you probably have answered, but let's go through them again.
Yeah, maybe some questions were before we handle that topic. So yeah, it all works on Azure Virtual Desktop like it does with all DaaS solutions, actually. So when you are not going for Microsoft DaaS, you can also use Amazon or Google or Nutanix or what have you. So yeah.
Good. Hey, is it possible to still run scripts with Profile Unity?
Yes, so there is still a user-defined script section in the ProfiUnity Management Console. So if there's no module for it and you still need to do something which is not out of the box available, you can still run your own scripts like PowerShell or command lines. Yep.
Sounds good. Hey, if an app is using FTA, file type associations, but the app is not yet mounted, how can the FTA use to start an app?
That's a really good question actually, because the file types that are in the Flex apps are only presented as soon as you launch the application. So in the last use case where we let the user decide when to start an application, the file types will come with the package as soon as they click the shortcut. So when you need file type associations like for 7-zip or PDF, you should add the application to the run key, for example. So that's one of the command lines that is available for, in this case, Flexp 1, to automatically run the application. So you will also have the file types available.
Good.
Yeah. And there is also a file type association management module in ProfiUnity. That's more for the local installed applications.
Sounds good. Hey, what if people never log off and their settings and profile and their settings and profiles are behind?
Yeah. So we don't limit users on the need of being logged on every 1 or 2 days. From a licensing perspective, we allow laptops to be offline for 30 days before they will get a notification. So people can continue to work offline if they need to for 30 days without any notification. But it means that their profiles and settings are also 30 days behind. So what we can do as soon as the user is not logging off is setting intervals to automatically update or the configuration. So it will get a new INI file down from the blob storage, and also refresh the modules. So we can refresh, for example, the start menu module, or we can refresh the administrative templates. And we can also start the portability sync. So it will automatically every hour or every day start the profile backup to your cloud storage location without the user being logged off. So that's something we can solve there. Yeah.
Good. Let's go quickly. How do you handle large profiles? Gentlemen are asking.
So there's two things. Of course, we can exclude larger files in the profile that doesn't need to be saved in the blob storage. And as you can see in the screenshot on the screen at this moment, or the Azure Blob Storage location, is that we store all the subdirectories and subsections of the registry in different files. So, for example, if Adobe changes, it doesn't need to write the app data and the Microsoft archives. It only changes the Adobe archive. So that's how we are efficient in writing back changes for larger portions of the profile.
Good. Barry, we do have a lot of app fees. Can you, do we need, once using Flexp, do we need to repackage all those? Is there?
The answer is no. You can import app fees and convert them to Flexp and Flexp 1 at the same time. So you will get turnkey packages to deliver with Flexp without repackaging.
Do I need to buy an extra license for Flexp 1? I can answer that question, no.
No.
There's no need for a Flexp 1 is a feature within Flexp, so you get it. There's no, we don't have any type of platinum, gold, silver edition of the products. You will get them all. Can you package applications with Flexp? Can you package any application with Flexp 1?
In general, yeah, any application. Like I said during the session, we support printer drivers, services, scheduled tasks, large applications, simple application, also old applications. So in general, we say that we can support above 95% of all of your applications to be Flexp. And of course, there are always examples of applications that cannot be Flexp, but they are rare. Yeah.
Good. Last one. How do you deploy solutions? How do your deploy solutions work with Intune?
So this is the Intune management console. Actually, we just need 2 apps for all the use cases that I showed. So we need an app to be deployed as a Windows 32 app, which is our client. And we need an app to deploy the Flexp 1 service. These are just simple installers. Actually, the Flexp 1 service is one executable that it needs to install. And the ProfiUnity client is our client that people already know, but packed in an Intune Win package that can be deployed. So that's all we need, and then we can take over that workspace management and application management part of the machine.
Barry, we're 3 minutes after the hour, so the last question, and then we park it here. The question is, we use Ivanti Workspace. Do we need? Can Flexp work in conjunction with Ivanti Workspace, or no profile management solution at all? Do we need always a profile management solution? And if we need it, do we need yours, which is Profile Unity?
So as we have seen in the last use case, we can use it without any profile management solution. Yes, you can use Flexp in conjunction with other profile management solutions, but of course it works best with the ProfiUnity. All
right, good. Thank you, Barry. It's 4 after 11. I thank you all for joining us this morning. As mentioned, this session is recorded. It will be posted later on today on our YouTube and other channels. So in case you want to see it or you want to refer your colleagues to it, please feel free to do so. in case you've been in this call, but I'm a shy person by default, so I don't dare to ask questions. So in case you're like me and you still have some questions left and you think, okay, guys, can you do this or can I see that? Now, please feel free to send us an email, info@liquidware.eu or info@liquidware.com. And we will make sure you can get we come back to you. In case you want to see a more in-depth demo, please feel free to contact us. In case you'd like to see the product, our products are fully functional on our website, and it comes already with a trial for I believe 2 weeks for 5 users. So you don't even have to be, contacted by any sales from our organization. You can use the product. And with that, I'll just want to leave it here. And I'd like to thank you again. And thank you, Barry, for this morning, and see you guys online or next time during an event. Thank you.
Thank you.